social media is evolving. It's evolving quickly. Elon kind of kicked it into hyper gear. They're not tweets anymore, they're X's, but I do think that he will somehow make Twitter better than ever.
I've never used Twitter. I do like Threads. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The big thing that they need to fix is making hashtags clickable.
The thing about Threads that I'm the most interested in is that it's going to integrate with the Fediverse. There's so many new social media platforms. The average person can't handle all of it. So social media is changing. Don't get comfortable. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Frustrated by Your Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Jim D'Amico. I'm joined by my co-host, Madison Christian. And today we're going to talk everything social media. There's been a lot that's happened since our last episode about social media. And we just want to go over the state of things. We're going to talk about X.com, formerly Twitter. We'll talk a little bit about Threads. We're going to go over the Fediverse, which is something that I didn't know how to name, but I've been interested in for a while. And then we're going to talk about Amazon's new social media platform. I'm not actually sure how long it's been around, but my brother pointed it out to me a couple of months ago, and it's been something I wanted to talk about for a while. So that's going to be our show, and hope you like it.
Yeah, I feel like even just so much has happened in the last year with social media. So
yeah, this has been a crazy year for social media. Elon, whether you love him or hate him, has thrown monkey wrench into a lot of what's been going on, and so this is a lot due to him. I would say that he's a smart guy, and he's created multiple successful businesses over his career, and a lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I do think that he will somehow make Twitter better than ever. I feel like you gotta go with the history on this, and he's a great businessman, and he's figured out some ways to make money for himself in the past, and something tells me that Twitter Twitter will be very profitable before this is all said and done. So it's not Twitter anymore, actually, it's X.com, and Elon's been obsessed with X throughout his career. His first company was X.com. I don't know if that was sold to PayPal or became PayPal. I'm not sure the whole history of that, but that's what he had, and that's where he started making his money. He's got SpaceX. Tesla has a Model X. It's always been something he's been obsessed with. So it's not surprising. And
continuing the obsession.
Right, continuing the obsession with X.com. And I would say that he's really good at getting attention. It's been a lot bad. The press is lambasting him most of the time for all of these changes. This X.com rebrand was certainly not well thought out, but we're talking about it. We're talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. So he knows how to keep the attention on him, which is great. And, it's been, probably ultimately will be really good for his company, which is why I think that he'll ultimately be successful with this. Okay, so other than the fact that when you go to the app, it's an X logo. When you go to the website, it's an X logo. And now X.com forwards to Twitter. And I assume we'll replace Twitter. I haven't checked that in a while. I'm wondering.
So does Twitter look the exact same now? Because obviously I'm not on Twitter. I've thought about getting it quite often, just haven't done it yet, or even honestly don't even really know what the back end looks like of Twitter. But
so everything is this. Everything is the same. So it's still twitter.com. X.com forwards to twitter.com.
That's right.
So that part is not complete, but it's the same. It's just got a fresh new coat of paint that a lot of people think is not so fresh. It is new. It's not the most modern looking logo, but I don't hate it. It's okay. It's just an X. There's apparently a lot of lawsuits rolling around. He doesn't have the trademark to X.com, or maybe he has it for X.com, but there's a lot of X brands out there like Xbox, and so there's that as well.
Because you said it's just an X, the logo?
It's just a white X on a black background for now.
Yeah, I can see how that would probably
background.
Have some trademark issues, even if, it is Elon Musk. I mean, it's just a letter, so it's like...
Right. Except that he's the richest man in the world, and I'm sure that his lawyers will make it go away. So I think this is one of those things where you can belabor over a rebrand and spend years talking about it and get everything buttoned up, or you can just have the owner say, I'm going to do it. and figure it out later. So that's basically what he's doing. And I think that we'll all accept X. I think they're not tweets anymore; they're X's. I don't know. I don't know how all the dust will settle on that, but he gets to do this. We're talking about it, and it's supposedly step one in his master plan of making this, evil master plan maybe, of making this the super app. Is what he's calling it. So it's not going to just be social media. It's going to be payments, banking, and so on. I've heard that the Tesla charging app maybe will be integrated into this in the not so distant future. Obviously, he has control over that, and I could see him bringing back Vine as well. So Vine was the old Twitter, before video, sort of before its time, before videos became the biggest thing in the world. There was Vine, it was huge, and then it disappeared. That was Twitter's old video platform.
When you said that earlier, I was like, I'm pretty sure I used that when I was in high school, but I don't I remember Vine, like the name of the app, and I know I used it, but I could not remember for the life of me like what it was.
Yeah,
because it wasn't around super long. I feel like.
Yeah, I think at least a year, but yeah, it definitely didn't survive for whatever reason. I don't know the history of that, but videos are huge, and Elon's willing to try and do anything, turn it off, turn it on. So hopefully he doesn't bring it. We're going to talk about Threads in a second, and I think one of the reasons why that's ultimately going to be a bust is because it is a separate platform, and I think why YouTube Shorts is great, and why if they bring Vine back into the native Twitter platform or X platform, it will do well, is because we're overwhelmed by all of this. There's a lot. There's so many new social media platforms. We had talked about Clapper and Lemonade, and there's obviously TikTok, and now there's Threads. And so it's the average person can't handle all of this. So if they're already using X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden videos are integrated the way Reels are into Instagram, which is genius. So if you're scrolling through Instagram and you click on a reel, you're all of a sudden stuck in sort of this real world, right? And you're just scrolling through, and it feels a lot like TikTok. And then you go back, and it's all of a sudden back to Instagram. So if they do something like that, where you're scrolling through Twitter and you click on a video, and now you're kind of stuck in that loop, that would be a lot smarter than creating a separate app that people have to download and integrate with. Like he's talking about an all-encompassing app, and that's smart. If you can do that, trap them, make them feel like this is a very comfortable space for me and I can do everything there, and they'll keep coming back. And so again, I'd put my money behind him. I think he's going to win this. I think it's going to be a messy journey. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but I think, when we're talking about this in 2 years, they're still going to be part of the conversation and probably have grown somehow. Whether it's this banking platform that goes back to his old PayPal, whatever before PayPal days, or they continue to increase social media, which they've dropped in social media, but if they bring that back, I don't know. But something tells me it will do something. And we'll see. The sort of the core of Twitter that's always been there is the reason why I think it will survive, and why I think Threads won't ultimately survive, or at least the way it is that it was created as a way for the pulse of the world to be sort of on display. It's a lot of these other social media platforms, it's very easy to go private, and there's all these private, Facebook is heavily locked down on private. There are groups, but those are often private. In Instagram, it's public, but a lot of people go private, and it's yes, you can follow celebrities and things like that on those platforms, and TikTok has a little bit of both as well. But Twitter at its core, even though it has a private function, is really about that public display of your thoughts. And because of that, I very rarely use Twitter, but if something big happens, so usually on election nights, there's a tragedy of any kind, whether it's a war or fires or something, I'll go there just to get an unfiltered view of what's going on, because you follow that hashtag or that trending topic, and you could just scroll through hundreds and hundreds of messages, and it's amazing. There's no, if I want to see what's going on in Ukraine, I can see what the New York Times or Washington Post or whoever tells me about it, or I can scroll through and see what people are telling me about it, and I love that. Or if I want to sort of giggle at election night, whoever's on the losing side, they'll post, really sad tweets. And if ours on the winning side, they'll post loading tweets. And I, love kind of following that around, especially if there's a surprise involved, just to kind of see how those parties are handling that. From a marketing perspective, it's always interesting to see that unfiltered view. And so that's why I think that they're not going away, because thus far, nothing has replaced that. Twitter's got a lot of baggage and a lot of people don't like it for a number of reasons, but you can't take that away from it. It still has that. And so it's a really lean company now. Elon fired, I don't know, three quarters of the company or whatever it is.
That's crazy.
So there's bugs and there's things, but you can hire them back, and he probably will when the time is right, and he'll evolve it quickly. He's not beholden to any shareholders like Meta is. So he can just try stuff, and if he loses $10 billion, it's $10 billion, and it's okay. Like he can do whatever he wants.
He'll make it back.
The Tesla stock prices are through the roof this year. He's doing fine. And so, he gets to be super nimble, which big companies like this don't usually get to do. And usually nimble, if you got smart people behind you, which we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's smart, they can figure out solutions, and they can try things. And if they don't work, they'll just trash it. And so I do think that it will be interesting to watch it. And I do think that at the end of this whole story, it will be bigger than it ever was. Okay, so that's X.com. Threads is the other sort of new kid on the block, and that is Meta, or Facebook's parent company's answer to Twitter. It is heavily integrated into Instagram, so because of that, it had the highest adoption or fastest adoption of any social media app in history. I think the stat I saw, 150 million users in 2 weeks, which is incredible.
Yeah.
However, active users are currently I think this is from a couple weeks ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower, is under 25 million users. So everybody signed up. You just had to click a button, and then you were signed up. And
I'm in that 25 million because I'm using it. So
yeah. So tell me about that. You like it? What? Maybe it's because you never used Twitter. Like this is like new Twitter for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I've never used Twitter. I do like Threads. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done if it's going to stay around. I think the one thing that bothers me is like you can't use hashtags. So like finding people that are talking about things that you want to interact with is actually pretty difficult unless you already follow them. So I think that's the nice thing about it is when I first signed up, you can follow everybody on your Instagram list who you're already following. So since I follow, 700 other authors and bookish people, it made it really easy to get all that in my Threads feed, which was really nice. But it's really hard to find other people when you just want to like search a hashtag and be like, okay, I want to, I don't know, look at this certain genre or something like that. It makes it really hard to actually find people in Threads that you want to follow. So I think that's a big thing that they need to fix is making hashtags clickable, because that's a thing on almost all platforms. Like you were talking about with Twitter, you can follow a hashtag. It makes it breezy. Whereas Threads, you can't do that right now. And I think that's the number one complaint I've seen even in my feed is people saying like, why aren't there hashtags? Like, why aren't they working? And things like that. So I think there needs to be a lot of work done with it, but I have enjoyed it, I guess.
It's amazing that they didn't have that integration. I'm pretty sure Twitter implemented hashtags first. It could have been Instagram. I'm not sure. They both had them around the same time, but I think it was, don't quote me on that, but I think it was Twitter. And it's great for that because again, when you're in something like Threads or Twitter, it's less about brands that you follow, people that, influencers and celebrities that you follow, that's part of it, but it's also about, looking at what's going on. Cause again, it has that component of like what's news now. And the best way to do that, one of the best ways to do that is, either a trending topic or something and or a hashtag. So I'm interested in the fires in Maui, which are going on right now, or that happened, a couple days ago. When this comes out, I guess it'll be a couple weeks ago. But if I wanted to search for that, I could see that without having to figure out who would be talking about the fires in Maui. And I might not care about those people ever again, but I might care about, I'm curious. I want to donate, and I feel so bad, and I want to know what's going on. So following their local fire department or local town council would be talking about it, and that would be something where we're getting, again, a super curated, very, very removed storyline. When I read it in the newspaper here, but I could see like literally what they're saying. And so, yeah, they should have that. I'm surprised they didn't have that.
I know. And that's one thing I think, like, hopefully they do integrate soon, because I think if they did, there would be a lot more users than there are now. Because that is such a frustrating thing. I mean, I like the fact that, once you do join Threads, you have the little thread symbol below your, I guess, profile picture in Instagram. So it makes it really easy to know who is on Threads and, I guess, kind of using it. There are a lot of people that don't use it, I guess, now. But it does make it really easy to, if you follow someone on Instagram, go follow them on Threads too. But other than that, it's like you have to do your research on that app to find who you want to follow and not do it in the Threads app, because unless you know someone's username, I mean, you can't search hashtags. So it's like you can't follow relevant content that you want to be following. So I think if they integrate that, I think more people will use it. But it's easy for me because I pretty much post the same thing on like Instagram, TikTok, Threads. So it's just like copying and pasting. I mean, I don't share videos on Threads, but like if I post a picture on Instagram, I'll like share it to Threads also. So it makes it pretty easy. But
yeah, and the other thing that Threads and Twitter X are really good at is conversations. Commenting. So they become more like conversations when people are commenting than on the other social media platforms. So not that there aren't conversations that happen on every platform, but I feel like it's more geared towards that. So you having a conversation about your book would do better on Threads, I think, than it would on TikTok. It's kind of how people use that platform.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's why I've been kind of like interested in trying, I guess, X. I'm going to keep saying Twitter, but trying X because, I keep wanting to get on more things. So I should probably end up trying that. But I do like, I guess, how Threads is set up if it is kind of like X.com right now.
Yeah. And so the other thing, so you mentioned it's really great that you get that initial follower list and following list. That's one of the reasons. The other reasons why I think that Threads ultimately will work is because there's so many different platforms. We curate a lot of people curate their social media based on how they're going to use it. Is how we do it now. So for, I think, a majority of the people, Facebook has become the family platform. Instagram and Reels is a platform that has some, it's not all of these have all of the things, but I think that's a lot about celebrities and trends, and there's more consuming than posting on those. So like the percentage of people posting is less than the people, 80%, let's say it's 80% consuming and 20% of the people posting. It's probably not that way on Facebook as much. And so the fact that like my personal Twitter, has a different, I followed different people there than I would have followed on Instagram, and I post different things that I would have posted, even though I don't do a ton of it. But if I was active on Twitter, it would look vastly different. Yeah, and Threads would be a lot closer to a Twitter profile for me than an Instagram profile for me. And so the fact that I start out, you don't have to do this, but that was sort of the idea. I start out with a group of people that aren't going to be as interested in the type of thing that I would tweet or thread, sort of put you in a bad footing because I'm more likely on my Instagram feed to post a video or a picture than to just post random text, where Twitter is more for text. It has photos and videos too as well, obviously. So I think that puts them in sort of in a position to fail. And the other thing to know, and you should know this too, is if you delete your Threads account, it deletes your Instagram account. So don't delete your Threads account. Yes.
Okay, that's stupid.
I'm assuming they'll fix that soon, but some people just deleted them and they deleted both. So don't do it.
Oh, that's crazy. That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I know that. I probably wouldn't have deleted it. There's sometimes where I like just try an app and then I like end up not deleting my account. It's just like I just delete the app.
Right. No, deleting the app will be fine. But if you delete your account, it deletes both. They are
good to know.
They are one and the same. And so what I do think they should do going back to the all-in-one app that Elon is trying to create with X, is if they had brought this into Instagram, and maybe they'll ultimately do that. And it's funny, when I was searching, doing some research for this episode, I searched for like, is Threads dead? And there was something in Instagram called Threads like years ago that is dead. I don't know what it was. So they reused that name. I'm not sure what it was, but they bring Threads into Instagram, sort of kill off that app and make it all one thing the way Reels is, because Reels is really another app.
It is really nice that it's just easy like that. Yeah.
So you click on a video and you're in that scroll loop of Reels, and that's all you're going to see until you click out of it. And so if they did that with, Threads sort of popped up from time to time, and they could, take that text and make it pretty with some sort of,
They could just add it as one of those like other buttons on the bottom, like the navigation buttons, where you click like you just want to see Reels, and then Reels will pop up, or your feed.
And that way you only have to post one thing. And when you go to post, you could post sort of two at once. So a thread would be, you could post it to two platforms at once, depending on how, and they would be shown differently. So obviously on Instagram, it's heavily image or video based, whether it's Reels or regular Instagram. Where on Threads, it's the opposite. It's heavily text-based. So, you can it would just flip it. And depending on how you want it to consume it, it would be the same post. So I think that if they do that, they'll have a much better chance of doing this. And then they have to also open up and make it more consumable to, again, adding those hashtags and adding the sort of world pulse, the pulse of the world to it, because that's really a lot how people use Twitter. And they use it to complain and argue with each other too. And I know Threads doesn't want that, but that's the other big thing of Twitter is there's these constant political debates and social debates. And I know Threads doesn't want that, but that's what drives Twitter is this sort of it's the town hall or the town meeting. In the old days, people would come and they would have their conversations. The whole community would come. So that's what Twitter is. It's not Facebook is more like a glossy magazine that's mailed out to people, or Twitter or whatever. So, Facebook. So Twitter is the good and bad of it. It's ugly, but that's what it is. It's that conversation.
Yeah, I've seen, at least I know with authors, there are a lot of authors that are and bookish people that are very interactive on Threads. And I think it's because just a really easy platform to talk about books. So that's pretty cool, I guess, from my end on using it. But I do hope it ends up changing, because I don't know, it's hard to find people you want to interact with sometimes. So.
Yeah. And if they don't kill it, I could see them killing it off soon. But if they don't, it will certainly evolve, because that's the topic of this conversation here, is that social media is evolving. It's evolving quickly.
A lot. Yeah.
Elon kind of kicked it into hyper gear. So the thing about Threads that I'm the most interested in is there was this little sort of thing as you signed up that said it's going to integrate with the Fediverse. And I didn't know this term, but I knew the concept, and it was something I mentioned in our prediction episode way back.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what, again, I didn't know it had a name, but this is what I think is where social media is going in the next decade. So the concept is, again, the way email works. If I email you from outlook.com and you're at gmail.com, they talk to each other. They're totally different platforms. They're owned by totally different companies. There's free versions and paid versions. You could still be using your old AOL email address. They all work together, right? Mm-hmm. So, and yes, when the content comes in, it looks a little different. Sometimes it breaks a little bit, but you're going to get text, you're going to get images. It's going to go to email address, from email address with subject line. Those are the core things. They all have those, there's message, email address, to and from, and subject. It's kind of built in to no matter what platform you use. That's the standard. We've all agreed on that. That's the standard for email. And so the Fediverse is sort of this for social media. So if I understand it correctly, it's decentralized, and you can send to and from platforms. And none of these platforms are the ones we know yet. So Threads isn't on it currently, but I see it moving to a place where you're known by some NFT type blockchain key, and that equals Madison Gray, the author, and I can follow you, and you could follow me, JH D'Amico, at whatever numbers, and so I set that as my username, but really my username is this sort of unintelligible list of things that you are codes that you follow, and based on how we are interacting with each other, you can see different things. So I could post, I'll have some family followers, I'll have some business followers, I'll have some followers from school or followers or, things that I want to post publicly. And then when I post something to social media, I can kind of pick and choose what I want to show. And it'll get rid of all this duplicate creation. Because now, if you're a content creator, there's so many places. So now Threads is added to it.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
Right. So you're posting. Where do you post? You post TikTok?
Yep. TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube Shorts. I should start a Facebook, but I don't want to do it on my personal Facebook. I honestly hate Facebook, but I should do it eventually.
And it's essentially the same content in all those places, right?
Literally, yeah. I copy and paste my captions. I kind of have to edit it based on like where I'm posting it. Because Clapper, Lemonade, and then also, what's the other one? It's called like or something. I don't know. I downloaded it once, they said that TikTok might be banned. I was like, I'll just download a bunch of things and just copy and paste stuff everywhere. So Clapper, I know there's a certain word count. You can only use 5 hashtags, I think it is. So depending on where I'm posting, I do have to edit my captions and things like that. And I think YouTube Shorts, actually, you can't go past 100 characters, I think.
Okay.
So it definitely depends on where I'm posting it. But mostly it's just copy and paste, edit a little bit. But if there is one platform that makes it really easy to where, you can just pick and choose where you want it to go, easy.
It would be amazing.
Yeah,
and so
save so much time.
It will eliminate the ability for these mega corporations to kind of own our content, as Twitter does. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but did I mention the fact that he took away the X account? Elon took that away from somebody. It was a photographer. I don't know if I mentioned it. But you don't own your stuff. So if there's another Madison Gray, the author, and she has more money or clout or something, they could take that away from you because you don't own that on any of those platforms. Yeah. It would be amazing if we owned this, just because we own our email address. We do actually own that, unless it's a Gmail address. You don't own that, but you own, if it's at MadisonGrayTheAuthor.com, you own that because you're paying for that URL and you're deciding where you're going to view it from. That part you don't own. You're renting sort of the platform that you view it on, but you own that email address. If it's Madison at MadisonGrayTheAuthor.com, that's yours until you stop paying for it. And that would be amazing. And so it would eliminate the ability for these mega companies to take it away from us. And would also get rid of all this duplicate effort. So imagine if you were posting, because you just did a book name reveal for your second book.
Yeah, my second. Yep.
Congratulations. What's the name again?
Consumable Love.
Consumable Love.
Romance adventure. So.
Romance adventure. Amazing. So Consumable Love. So you go to post that and you're going to post some text, some short text, some long text, a picture of the book cover, a video about the book cover, and maybe a video you're talking about the book cover, right? So you could, I don't know how many different sort of fields there'll be, but let's say there's, 5 or 6 fields, right? And then it goes out to all of your followers and the public, if you depending on what you check. And if it's private, you check, maybe you have your different groups. You could also have a paywall in there. So if you had people that were paying to get your content, maybe they only see it, or they see some of it, or they see all of it and other people see some of it. It would allow for this ability for us as content creators and just people to control that a little bit. And then, so where it's posted from and where it's consumed from, that's where the money will probably be made. But let's pretend we owned that. And I think that's a little bit about what the Fediverse is. I mean, I haven't delved too much into it, but when I read about it, they talk about this email model, which I think is so amazing. And I think that's where social media will go. And I wouldn't worry about X.com and Meta. They'll figure out how to make their money on this somehow.
Yeah, definitely.
And there'll still be ads somehow, because there always is. But it would be amazing if we had that control and we were able to share without having to change how we interact with people. We could share different things. So if there was a fire in our town, we would send out a much different tweet letting people know, or post, or whatever it's going to be called, than if we're just sharing something from going, to the brewery this weekend. There'd be different audiences, but it could be segments of our core audience. It would allow people to do that. It would allow people to interact with their multiple different business models. So If you have 2 books, you could have different groups for different books. You could have a group for your author stuff, a group for your web design stuff, and they don't care about the same things, right? So you'd be able to check mark those, and kind of it would allow us to curate the stuff on our own a little bit better, and take the algorithm a little bit out of it. And then I'm sure the algorithm will still exist, still improve upon how we always subscribe to more than we can handle. So the algorithm maybe will tell us what they think we want to see from that, but we can control it a little bit more. So I think that's amazing that that's built into Threads. I think it's the most exciting thing about Threads. And I hope that is what happens. That again, that's one of my predictions for the future, but it's maybe step one at being a reality.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing until you mentioned it. So that would be super cool and make it just like so much easier.
I don't think it's coming, you'll probably be on your 10th book before it actually is reality, but I do think that that's coming, and I'm glad that it has a name, and I'm glad that Meta's paying attention. So those are all good signs. So, it's going to happen. Again, they'll still make their money. So anyway, so we talked about X.com, we talked about Threads, we talked about the Fediverse. Real quick, one other thing I mentioned we were going to talk about is Amazon Inspire. So there's obviously all these, TikTok is social media is in the news, everything's changing, but this was one that sort of, I haven't seen written a lot about. My brother brought it to my attention and I missed it. It's in the native app for Amazon. If you look, there's a little light bulb right in there, and you can scroll through, and it's very influencer heavy videos. So, it's, people, if you're on Instagram and TikTok, there's a certain number of videos that are about people trying to sell stuff. So
yes,
I tried this great product, and that they're getting paid to try this great product. Or I tried this great, I went to this great restaurant. Like there's always like, if you're consuming it the right way, you'll know these people are, they're sort of hawking stuff for money back, right? But the nice thing about this for Amazon is it doesn't have to be wildly successful to be successful. If you're an influencer, you sign up for an account and it knows your buying history, obviously, because it's in the app. And so I've done nothing with it. But when I start scrolling through, Sky and I both use the same Amazon account. I don't know if I said Instagram, but Amazon account, but knows what you buy. So I see stuff for kids. I see stuff for back to school. I see stuff for babies, because we have a 1-year-old. I see beauty products that Sky bought. I see electronics for me. And so it knows that user history, and then you can pick and choose your interests as well. And then when you scroll through it, it's a video. Like there was one I saw, it was like things you need for baby-led weaning, which is a style of getting your kid to eat solid foods that's messy. And it showed all this stuff to make it cleaner, right? And so you scroll through and they show this great video of this special high chair with a mat and whatever and a plate. And then right at the bottom are links to buy it. And then if you buy it because of that video, they can get, I think, up to 5% back, that influencer. So now Amazon has basically said to them, create content for us. We'll give you 5% back, which is nearly nothing. And we will, this will help us sell more stuff. And so if you're sort of binge scrolling of what to buy to try to make yourself feel better, which is what a lot of people do, they retail therapy. It's just another way to get to that product that you might want to buy. And so
I could see how that would be dangerous. I'm glad I don't shop as much as I used to, because I could see how that would be dangerous. Because a lot of times too with Amazon, you first go to like reviews to see if people are posting pictures of things, whereas like with videos, you do actually get to see more of what the product is. And if you can actually like see it on someone or see somebody using it, you are more likely to probably purchase that product. So probably a good thing I don't shop, where I would probably spend a lot of time on there.
Yeah, I mean, so if you were, I don't know, so let's say you're going to do your fall wardrobe, right? And so you bought a couple things. I don't know whatever those are. You bought boots. They would know that, they would figure that out. And then if you're scrolling through, it would be stuff from probably people, influencers of your age. They're going to know that somehow, showcasing other fall things. You need this new jacket, you need this new whatever, and they'll show themselves wearing the whole ensemble. And below it, just like in Instagram, instead of it being like little, buttons on the top, they're on the bottom. You click on it and you can go and see what that jacket costs, and then you can buy it. And now Amazon made more money. They didn't have to do nearly any work. It cost them 5%. or up to 5%. A lot of them are even less than that. And, the influencers get something. So there's a reason why they're doing it. And it's ingenious. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it, but we should continue to play around with it and see what happens.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Because Amazon doesn't make enough money already.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now they're in the social media. So, but I think they're smart because we're calling this social media, but it's really not. It's influencer marketing is what it is. And I have a feeling we'll hear more about that too. So anyways, that's our episode. I would say if you had to sum this up, social media is changing. Don't get comfortable because I
was gonna say probably by the time this episode comes out or like you listen to it, there will probably be so much more.
Right. There will constantly change. And I apologize. We've been sort of on break, but we are committed to be back more consistently now. The summer was busy. So now we're pretty close to fall. This will probably be coming out. I wouldn't be surprised. So we're recording this mid-August. It'll probably come out in September. So it'll be back to school time. And
it's so crazy we're this far in the year already.
Yeah. Time's flying. But we're committed to doing this more often now. And we will see you next week, hopefully. I don't know. I don't know if we can commit to that anymore, but we'll see you soon. And thanks so much for listening.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Bye.